I'm great. I'm great. I'm great. So
Something to
every now and then
say?
you'll see me grab my mouth. I just had stitches taken out from having oral surgery. So as much as
Oh
I'm smiling
no.
on the inside, I might not be able to do it on the outside.
Oh no. How are you feeling? Are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm pretty excited. There's been a lot going on. So
Okay.
I'm
All
good.
right. Have you done any hangouts yet?
I have, but only from. So I used to do hangouts with Trey, but
Okay.
I was just listening. I was in listening mode. I wasn't participating. And then I've actually witnessed a few of our critiques. The last couple of weeks, I haven't. I'm mom's caretaker these days, so. But as far as actually participating, no, just viewing.
Okay. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your little mouse and go up to like the top
Going on.
left.
So
Okay.
I'm sorry. Say that again because I'm getting an echo
Have you
back
done
now.
any hangouts yet?
I have, but only from.
Okay, so so what's happening?
But I was just listening. I was in listening mode. I wasn't participating. And then I've actually witnessed a few of our critiques. The last couple of weeks, I haven't. I'm mom's caretaker these days, so. But as far as actually participating, no, just viewing.
Okay. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna Okay. So what's happening right now is that you actually have the screen open that's playing the video in real time. So you're actually watching it while you're in it. So if you move our window that you and I are in down and off the screen, you'll see the video playing behind you and you just have to delete that. Just exit out of that screen. As long as this one's open, this is the one you need.
Caretaker these days, so. But as far as actually participating, no.
Okay. So the screen that I'm on with you right now, just minimize it and look at your Google screens behind you because you have the event page open behind you. Level 4 critiques, I love them. You're not the only one to do this today, by the way. It's one of your other tabs or windows open. That's what it is. This is so much fun. The amount of frustration and confusion on your face is my favorite thing. Oh no, I lost her. Oh, it's so exciting. I love level 4 critiques. Oh, okay. So let's see if we can actually get her back now. So this is why we recommend that you guys actually do a trial hangout before so you know all this stuff and do this not live. Um, and
Did that work?
there we go. Okay, great. It's okay. You'd be surprised how many people do that in their level
Oh
4
my
critique.
goodness.
I'm pretty sure one of the level 4 critiques, it was actually me that did it, not the apprentice. So what happens is when you open the event page, when it starts, it's on a time delay. So it's like 5 to 10 seconds behind,
Okay.
and it'll auto start playing because you were on that screen. So as long as you're closed out of all your other Google windows, we'll be fine. We won't have that problem.
Okay. Now, so if we close out of all of the other Google windows, then that's where the pictures are. That's where the images are. Um,
Okay, so now you can go and reopen a new tab and go to the Google community. Just don't go to the event. There's no reason for you to go to the event because you're actually in the Hangout.
okay.
It's fun, isn't it? Never a dull moment in House Lark.
Yeah. So I'll just go convergence. I think is where the images are. Oh, is it there?
It's probably in House Lark under your level 3 or level 4.
It's under level 4. So I will I'll just do that real quick so that I can be prepared. Uh,
Great.
and okay.
No problem.
All right. So yes, I see them.
Okay. So now you'll go up to the top left and click on the little green square that shows up when that tab pulls over with the arrow in it. It's the second icon. So if you move your mouse all the way to the left.
I see share. Is that what I'm
Yeah, screen share. It's the second tab. It's green. It's a little white arrow inside a green TV, I guess.
Actually, for me, it is. I'm on a Mac. It just says there's nothing there. It just says share, and then it wants to know if I want to add comments. So maybe I'm not.
No. On the very left-hand side, when you bring your mouse over, it should bring over a little tab. Actually, I'll show you. So on your screen, when you come over, as soon as you put your mouse over, these should come up over here. And you're looking for this one.
I'm looking for. Okay, let's try that. Okay. Oh, I'm looking for screen share.
Yes. There you go. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
So that's what you're gonna click on, and then you can select the screen that you want to show the images. So it's gonna bring up every window you have open, and you want to select the Google window.
Okay. Wow. Oh, whoa, whoa.
There you go.
Okay, but those aren't mine.
Okay. But you're in the right screen, so.
So can you see now? Can you see an
Yep.
image? Okay.
With the woman with the cigar?
Yes, I'm going to go back to the beginning if I can. All right. Okay. All right.
Whew, we got it.
Yes.
Okay. So I lost it though. Now I see me. So I'm guessing that you're showing the whole screen, so you can't look at me. I had to keep it on the Google window.
Okay. Is there a way to undo that?
Yeah, if you go up and click stop screen sharing,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're gonna click to screen share again. What you want to do is you have it in a tab. You want to pull that tab out so it's actually a separate window, not just a tab. So if you just go up and select, if you grab on the tab and pull it down, it'll separate it as a separate window so that it's two separate windows instead of just a little tab that you're fluctuating between. Does that make sense?
I think so. Well, no, where'd you go? I hear you, but I don't see you.
Oh, I can see me. I can see me on both screens.
Oh, okay, so I see. So I have you as a separate tab now.
Okay.
I do.
But you still have the Google Hangout as the one that you're sharing. So you want to exit out of the screen share. It's okay, we'll get it.
Okay.
Just so you know, you lose points if you do this at level 9.
You know what? I shouldn't even get to level 9 if I can't figure it out by then.
Okay.
Okay. So here's what I see. I see share your
Google.
screen, Google Hangouts. And I have entire screen, Google Plus Hangout, and then House Lark. Class 3.
Lark is the one that you want, because that's where your images are. That's the one you want to share. There you go. Perfect.
Oh.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go through them, and you're going to talk a little bit about the image and what went into creating it, and what are the strengths and the flaws of it. You'll critique it yourself, and then I'm going to grade you on a scale of 0 to 3. 0 being, why would you bring this to critique? It has no redeeming qualities. 1 is that it shows promise, but that it was the beginning of something and didn't quite hit the mark. Number 2 is a commendable image, that it's a good photograph, but that there's a couple of little flaws that could be improved upon. And 3 is a stellar image and an exemplary photograph.
Okay.
Make sense? Okay, and you need 5 points to pass to level 5.
Okay.
No pressure.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Okay, so whenever you're ready.
Well, so this particular image, this was the start of a project that I didn't know, that I had never had any plans to do. So I ride motorcycles with a lot of people, and a lot of these folks smoke cigars. I've never smoked anything in my life, and so it's kind of unusual that I would wind up photographing people that smoke cigars. So I had a gentleman come to me. He wanted an image done of him on his motorcycle smoking a cigar. And that has just turned into, well, it became a personal project. But now that's turning into something that actually is lucrative, because now all of a sudden I have people knocking on the door saying, hey, can I get one of these images with a cigar? So this particular image was a young lady who actually does reviews for cigars. And so she wanted an image of her. She wanted a headshot, or at least 3/4, and so we found, a meeting of the minds in the middle. Something special about this image for me is that this was the first time I ever tried frequency separation, and I don't know how. I have not been able to duplicate that level of skin smoothing without making it look plastic since I did this the first time. So it's kind of a first image for me, and that's why I selected this. And actually all of these are cigar images, because right now to me they seem to be the best as far as being visually appealing. But this is not all that I want to shoot. I'm really more interested in boudoir and glamour, but I'm just getting started there. So.
That's okay. Essentially what you did was you took the cigar and made it a prop in the image, but they still have a very kind of glamour boudoir kind of feel to it.
Yes.
So okay. I don't think that that's a problem at all. This is just a series that you're doing within the genre, but it's definitely still in the genre. I like the lighting in this. The highlight's a little bit high just on the edge of the chair, in between her mouth and her wrist, which I think is just a little bit distracting.
Okay.
Composition rules tell me that I should yell at you about cutting her elbow off, but it doesn't actually bother me. However, her one arm that's down and off the side, if you had her pull that out, it would have pulled it away from the strap, and you won't get that roll, like the fat roll right there. There's chicken cutlets that all the girls hate.
Yes.
That actually has a lot less to do with actual fat than it does the way the flesh is sitting up against boning and corsets and any kind of stiff fabric. So if you had her pull her elbow away, because of the way the body works, it would have stretched that skin and taken away that extra little piece of flab there. So something to keep in mind for the future. I am a huge believer in retouching out necklines, because necklines are age lines. You can touch out age lines, you don't touch out expression lines. So the necklines always go. And I'm seeing 1 or 2 along the back of her neck there. And I love the idea of the smoking photographs and the smoke, but here I think that the smoke is actually distracting because it's taking away too much of her lip and her nose in front of it, as opposed to, and this is one of the things where you just kind of have to keep shooting until you get it right, because the smoke doesn't take direction. But if the smoke had been forward and up and away from her face, I think it would have been a stronger photograph. Here I don't like that it covers up the nostril and the whole top lip. because it's just coming out of her mouth, so it hasn't dissipated, so it doesn't have a lot of um, transparency to it. So if we could take the opacity down in that so that we could see through it, I think it would have been fine. But right now it's just like this blob of light in front of her face. But I
So,
love.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I love the lighting. I love the styling of it. I love her kind of don't care expression. The catch lights in the eyes are beautiful. And I still think it's a really good photograph in spite of the few little things that I pointed out. I'm also inclined to start veering away from the square props because they make me think Instagram all the time, and you don't want to ever give the impression that what you're doing can be completed by a phone app. So I'm going to give this one I'm going to give it a 1, but I'm only giving it a 1 because you flipped and showed me the whole series when you were setting it up. And I think that this was the beginning of the idea of something, so it shows a lot of promise, but I think we're going to like all the other ones in this series better than this one particularly.
So I find that really interesting, and so I want to address a couple of things before we even go to the others.
Okay.
The first thing is the crop. The gentleman that's actually putting this on his electronic magazine wanted a square crop because it's a headshot for her reviews, so it's just he had a square to put it in, and so
Okay.
so the square was intentional. The smoke, it's really interesting. The other images are probably less opaque as far as the smoke is concerned, but that was actually, this is what they want, which is really weird. And so I'm always trying to choose the one that's trying to make sure that's like not covering up their eyes, and I actually bump up the opacity in these. And the challenge for me really has been not wanting to add smoke in post. So they really want images of themselves actually smoking. And so initially they would blow out, and they would blow so hard that you weren't really capturing the nice little wiggles of the smoke. So now I just have them allow the smoke to come out so that it's wafting, I guess. And I wind up taking a lot of images trying to find the right one. There was another one of this particular young lady that I liked better. It was more see-through. I let her choose the one that she was submitting for the magazine. So it's really interesting. What we like and what the client likes is very different.
Oh, I completely agree with that, 100%. And really, the bottom line is, if she loves this and this is being used every single day on her blog and she's happy with it, then it was a success as far as a client thing. On the other hand, if you had one that you liked better and you let her choose between the two, this is on her site and her blog every single day being seen by everyone.
Yeah.
So I don't be afraid to fight for your images either,
Okay.
especially if they're going out. But that being said, like this is not a bad photograph. Like it's still a really good shot, and I totally see why she would want it. And whatever she's seeing out of it, especially if she actually reviews cigars, I can totally see why this is a plus for her, and she doesn't mind the cigar and the smoke sort of competing with her for the image. But
Yeah.
but I think it would have been stronger from a photographic perspective. And that's the other thing, is that we're critiquing as photographers. Most of our clients are not photographers, so they see the images differently. So do I think it's sellable? Absolutely. Is the client happy? Absolutely. Does that make it a success? A hell of a lot more than me giving you a certain number of points in critique.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Good. All right, let's see the next one.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so this was my second attempt at frequency separation, and very, very challenging because she has a lot of her skin was just, it was really tough for me because she has like these craters in her face, and I figured if I could improve upon it at all. It was a success for me because I am just not that savvy. My biggest weak points are retouching and posing, and those are the things that I'm trying to put a lot of focus on. So I like this image because I really like the lighting on it. This was my attempt at trying some different kinds of lighting. So I basically had two black V-flats on either side of her and one light overhead. And this was strobe, not continuous lighting. I'm just now starting with continuous lighting. And so it was an experiment. I don't know what else to say about it. I think the smoke probably is a little more appealing in this one because you can still see all of her features, but you can still see the smoke clearly. She was a bit on the modest side, which was really interesting for her personality because she doesn't come across that way at all. But once I got her in here, she was really self-conscious, and so trying to find a pose that was seductive but still a little more on the conservative side was a challenge, but
you nailed it.
Okay.
You did. You nailed it, and that's a really good point because I think a lot of photographers that specialize in artistic nude and boudoir and intimate portraiture, they crutch on sexuality and nudity a lot, and it's a lot more difficult to convey sensuality and appeal when you aren't showing all that skin, because then it becomes about the nudity, not about the artistic integrity. And you totally brought that across in her facial expression.
Oh.
Like, I see it. It's that eyebrow thing too, that raised eyebrow. That raised eyebrow is the international female sign for "come get me." Like,
oh, I'm glad to know that.
all the time. Like, that little eyebrow is like, yeah, you're gonna enjoy the rest of the night's festivities.
Right. Okay.
And she's totally giving that. So all of the seductiveness and all of the allure comes across in those eyes. That said, you got a little bit of catch light in each, but I would have liked to have seen just a little bit of light. And this is really, really hard with women, particularly I've noticed that it's a thing where the darker the skin, the darker their irises are. Like, you guys have like this dark, like mocha chocolate color to brown that a lot of white girls don't have. We have it's. I'm so glad I wasn't born with brown eyes, because we don't. It's like this very muted brown, and this really deep dark brown is like stunning in person, but it's really, really hard to photograph because it's such a dark pigment that you don't get a lot of light in it, so it's harder to separate it from the pupil. Which is kind of what's happening here. Like, her irises look almost black in the photograph because of the light and the retouching. So you have to be really careful about how you light the eyes as a result of that. But even with that, there's so much expression coming forth in them that doesn't kill the photograph for me. It's just something that I would have liked to have seen, just a little bit more light in the eyes, just to separate the pupil from the iris a little bit and really, really punch them up. I totally, totally agree with you about the smoke. We can still, even though it's still kind of in front of her face, we can see the bridge of her nose and down the line, and the upper parts of her lip and stuff through the smoke. That's what I'm looking for, is for it to not be like splattered milk, which I think the other one kind of is. Like, it's so solid that you can't see anything through it. So I like that we can see through it on this one.
Okay.
Her hand's just a little bit awkward because all of her fingers are in alignment, so they're on a flat plane. If you had her curl those fingers in, it would have made a lot of difference in the hand placement and just making it look a little bit more feminine. But I think that you did a really good job. If she was a little bit more self-conscious, letting her stay clothed is a good way to make her feel at home, and just dropping that sleeve off the shoulder is enough to give the illusion of sensuality. Sometimes less really is more, because if you want to leave them more to want, then you have to leave them more to want. And there's plenty left to want here, which I think is part of the appeal of the image. I like the pose. I love her face and her expression and the energy she's giving. You're losing her neck because her shoulder's up so high. So with a lot of my clients, you want to elongate this line of the neck here. So just having her make sure she's dropping that shoulder, and then to elongate it further, even when I drop the shoulder, if you really want to pull the neck out and make it long, you have them drop the shoulder and then lean into you, because it creates the illusion of these long lines. So look at how much longer my neck looks.
Absolutely.
Because of that, as opposed to if I sit up. And I'm not changing or dropping my shoulder, I'm leaning my whole body towards you. But it creates the illusion of longer lines and gives that long, elegant neck. And long necks are a really excellent way to take pounds off. Everybody thinks like liquefying like the midsection and the hips and the thighs with women. It's the neck and the collarbone all the time. That will take 20, 30 pounds off of them visually, like that. But all that said, I love the light. I love the texture of her hair. I love the smoke in this one. And I love her face and the energy she's giving. So I'm going to give you a 3 for this one. I think that this is pretty much a perfect interpretation of the smoke. The only thing that really bothers me is I'd like to see that shoulder dropped and elongate her neck, and I'd like to have seen those fingers curled just to make her hand a little more interesting. But this is a beautiful photograph.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That means a lot.
All right, let's see the next one.
Okay. So this particular image, so women come to me very self-conscious. I don't know. I guess that's a common thing for most of us, but you hear oh well, my stomach's too big and my hips are too big, or my neck is too short, or my arms are too fat. And when I actually served in the Air Force with this woman, and she was getting ready to turn 50 and wanted something different as far as a picture was concerned, as far as an image of her and her face. So I'm starting to look at people's faces, men and women, and see something. And so when I look at her face, how round her face is and how full her hair is, she always reminds me of Marilyn Monroe. And so I just said, well, I have an idea. That's not a real fur. That is just a big, almost like a remnant, or just a piece. It's about 5 feet of faux fur that I got online at Etsy. And I had the pearls, and I said, well, let's just wrap this around you. And I just wanted to go for that kind of Marilyn Monroe-ish kind of look. And so she also has very interesting skin. So skin is a challenge for me because I don't want them to look flawless unless they really are. I want it to still look real. I don't want it to look like it's not them, because we're all, the people that are seeing these images, we all know each other, and I just don't want to falsify who they are. I want them to be beautiful as they are. I just remove some of the imperfections. And so her skin was a bit of a challenge. I did not use frequency separation on this. This one was mostly done in Lightroom, so I was just using the healing brush and clone and stamping, or cloning. And it took me a while, but I'm just, I'm trying to get better at all kinds of ways of retouching and knowing which way works better than the other based on what the image is. So this one just was a little more glamorous for me, and the smoke was interesting because I took a lot of images, and this wound up being the best one. I see a flamingo in that smoke. I don't know. That's kind of weird, but there was just I just saw this flamingo coming up out of it. But I like the image. I like movement of hair, and so if you can't actually have movement, then I like the fullness. So that's it.
I like this one. I see the flamingo now. That's all I'm ever going to see with this photograph now. Um, I definitely see Marilyn Monroe in the hair and the styling. I like it. I like that she's got this sort of um, somber, thoughtful kind of approach to her expression, and I think that you've done a really good job. I've seen a lot of women um, that come in for boudoir glamour sessions, and the photographers try to shoot 30, 40, 50-year-old women the same way they shoot the 18 to 25s, and they look out of place. It's like when you see people that are wearing clothes that you're like, you're not 20 anymore. It's the same thing in photography. So I think that this still has that element of sensuality in a way that comes with knowing, like a 20-year-old can be sexy because she's young, but not because she's experienced.
Right.
And not be, like there's like that difference. Like my husband likes the joke all the time. There's a joke where they're talking about 72 virgins when you die, and he's like, why would I want 72 virgins? I want like 72 slutty broads that know what they're doing, and that's like
Oh, God.
that's the joke. So, but away from that, there's
I'm gonna have
I'm glad you appreciate that.
I'm gonna have a talk with Michael.
But there's something very alluring about women that are older that I think gets forgotten. Like there's so much pressure on the feminine gender for youth and beauty all the time that they get stuck in trying to be that, and they lose track of how elegant they are when they're older and how much poise they have and the gracefulness that comes with age and wisdom. And I think that you captured that here with her, that that you couldn't get that kind of energy from a 20-year-old, no matter how gorgeous she is. So I like that there's this sort of almost regalness to her that I'm seeing in this image that I think is really strong and powerful. I love the texture of the smoke, and I love the contrast of that against the texture of her hair and the texture of the fur and the texture that you're getting with the smoothness of the pearls. I think her skin looks beautiful. I like that you still have texture in the skin. Skin should not be super smooth and flawless because we're not Barbie dolls. Like, we have skin. We want flawless skin, but it should still look like skin. The light on her face is lovely, and I like the it's not quite 3/4, but it's almost, but it's kept enough of the eye and the cheek to be able to pay honor to the other side of the face too, so that it wasn't just profile. So overall, I think this is beautiful. I'd like it if her hand was pulled a little bit further away just to create some separation, because it is in black and white. I feel like we lose the palm of her hand a little bit into the fur. But overall, it's a really beautiful photograph in this series, and I can totally see where she'd be really happy with it. I kind of think that this one would probably be stronger in color than in black and white, but I would have to see it in order to decide. But I feel like it's flattened just a little bit in black and white. And usually I can tell, like, people usually do black and white. Either they shoot for it to be in black and white, or they put it in black and white to correct the fact that they didn't get the coloring and white balance right, and they haven't figured out how to fix it. And this one, I don't know that it stands really strong as a black and white photograph by itself. It looks like a color image that was converted to black and white. So I'd be interested to see the color version too.
Okay.
But overall, I really love it. I'm going to give it a really, really high 2. It's almost a 3 for me. I think it's a really beautiful image. I'm not sure if it's the crop that's bothering me. I think, maybe if we had a little bit more information in the bottom, coming down to like her waistline a little bit more, but there's something about about it, and it may just be her disconnect because of the way she's looking off with it, which is interesting because I like the expression and I like the kind of regal don't care attitude that she has. Like, she can't be bothered with the peasants. Like, that's what I get. Like, you know, like the queen doesn't get off the throne because the peasants are throwing stones kind of thing. Like, I get that kind of feeling, but in a good way, like in a, you know, in a like she knows her place kind of thing, and knows her value, which I think is really strong and more women should have. But I think because she's looking off that we're losing a little bit of the connection that we could have had with her, and I would have really liked to have seen her like dead on and connect with the camera, because I bet you she would have just pierced everyone that looked at the image. So I think that's what's bothering me, is that there's so much strength coming from her, but she's not putting it at the viewer. She's just letting it flow off the edge of the image for me. So so I'm going to give it a 2, but it's like, it's right on the cusp between 2 and 3 for me. It is a really beautiful photograph.
Thank you. So I can tell you why the crop is where it is.
Okay.
Because this is just a big, bulky piece of faux fur.
Okay. Yeah.
So she's actually, I have it pinched in between her other hand right here.
Okay.
If you were to see any more of it, you would just see her elbows sticking out with this.
All right. See,
so
yeah,
like,
that
the
totally
crop is
makes
my
sense.
cheat.
Well done. Well played, because it does totally look like a really elaborate fur coat, too.
And, you know, she has the most amazing eyes. This one and the first one, they have these hazel, they actually have light brown eyes. And so all of her other pictures, she's looking straight at me. It's almost eerie because her eyes are like lighter than her complexion. And so this was almost a happy accident. And when she and I laughed about this, because, and I was laughing when you were talking about, you know, the kind of feeling that this image portrayed. I was laughing because I was reminded of the conversation that she and I had. And I won't use that word live,
Okay.
but she says, wow, you know, this is exactly how I'm feeling right now. Like, I don't give a,
Yeah.
So,
in House Lark, you can say fuck anytime you want. I asked Clay. He said it's fine.
Okay. I was like, I know these are like televised. I mean, you know, these are like open. Can anybody else see these? Because I was like, that's exactly what she said. And I was like, yeah, that's about right.
That's about right. Yeah, no.
So, okay. Well, that's great. That's great. So I have some things to work on there. Okay.
Okay, let's see the next one.
So this is the same woman that was looking over her shoulder that I said was really modest, and she was starting to warm up, but this was just about as warm as she would get. Now she's a retired detective. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so she still has a lot of folks in that circle, and so I wonder if that was one of the reasons why she was, just kind of teetering on the modesty, being conservative versus sexy. And so, so here's the thing: when I have these cigar shoots, I bring them in. I usually have like one specific set that I'd like to photograph. I mean, I just have at least one image, and then everything else just flows from the clothes that I asked them to bring. And so I have a studio. It's an old auto repair place, and I just have things, antique furniture. I have props, just props that I never know what I'm going to do with them until I get the subject in there. So it's really.
You and I are such kindred spirits. It's amazing.
It's crazy. Like, I'll see something and I'll pick it up and I'll say, I don't know when I'm going to use this, but I'm going to use it. And so this chair that she's sitting in was 2 chairs that I got from a thrift store the same day that they were delivered. Unfortunately, it was the outcome of a divorce, and the guy just wanted to get rid of the chairs. These chairs are huge. So I had them sitting on both sides of the bed, and I said, you know what? Bring your fedora. Just sit here. And I said, now, we're going to show a little cleavage here. And she was like, oh, really? I said, you know what? Pull the hat down over your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And that just made her feel more comfortable.
It does, yeah. I was actually
her eyes.
going to say that.
So, And there you have, she really, really, really likes this image. And I think it's because it's kind of, she's a detective, and it's
Hmm.
kind of mysterious. It's like, who's that girl? Um, but still kind of I shot it dead on, straight on. So, and I told her, I was like, I don't usually photograph women straight on unless it's like truly like a power pose. And
Hmm.
she says, well, this feels like a power pose. So
Yep.
I just said, well, let's try it and see what happens. And that's what happened.
No, and this one's gorgeous. It looks like it, you know what it reminds me of? Who is that R&B singer? Ashanti?
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
my.
It reminds me, like, I could totally see this being like an album cover for like that kind of uh
Oh, okay.
late 90s version of like hip hop R&B singers. I see it like, or even going back a little further, like maybe like Tony Braxton. Um, or even coming forward, like even getting into like J-Lo or Rihanna, like it's got a very almost like entertainer album cover kind of thing.
Okay. Okay.
And you hit on the exact point I was going to make, where you said she was, she was a little shy and didn't really feel too comfortable exposing too much in front of the camera. Um, what they mean when they feel that way is that they're self-conscious, which is why almost all my photos have big hair, because hair becomes a prop that they can hide behind.
Okay.
And they will stand in front of me naked as long as they can put their hair in their face.
Okay, I'm
It's
gonna remember that. I'm writing
official.
that down.
So it's that kind of thing, like having them pull their hair or bring their hands, like they'll be completely naked and fine as long as they have something that they can kind of, it's, we start doing that when we're children. Like babies put their hands in front of their face and think that you can't see them. They have disappeared from the world now, and we just kind of
Okay.
never lose that. Um, I love the little anonymity that it gives by having that shadow come down over across the bridge of her nose so that you don't have the eyes. And usually the eyes are the connector for the
Yes.
photograph, but here it turns her into this kind of anonymous, sexy siren kind of thing. I love the cleavage. I love the hair. I love the smoke coming off the side of her face instead of straight forward. You couldn't have posed the smoke any better than you did. Her fingers look fantastic. I like the jewelry. I love the fedora. I'm not sure that the chair is actually adding any real value to it necessarily, but it's also not distracting away from it. But I think if she was shot on a just like a plain black backdrop, that it would have been fine as well. Um, but again, same thing. If you had had her standing in empty space, she would have felt more self-conscious. Having things around people makes people feel better. Like they will always pose better with a chair or against the wall than they will in the middle of a room. I never put people on backdrops for that reason, because they'll feel a lot better leaning back against something than they will standing straight and having nothing but them be the focus. So I think that the chair's merit probably came in more as sort of like a security blanket for her than it did for its own visual appeal. Um, I have no real negative critique for this at all. Maybe just the fact that we cut off the very top of the hat, and again, you're really loving on this square crop, and I really hate it. But I also think that's probably personal preference. But I'd be interested to see if it was um, cropped like maybe 5 by 7 or 8 by 10 and came down a little further and showed just a little bit lower as well into the midsection as well, because I like to see at least the beginning of that curve, like right below the bust line where it starts to curve in. I think is where you really start to get the feminine figure. So cutting like right at the bust line, I think can sometimes be a hindrance, but here it doesn't bother me too much. I'm giving you a 3 for this one because I do think it's just an outstanding photograph. Like I could see I compared it to celebrity album covers, so if I think celebrities would be good with it, it's a good photograph.
Okay, so can I tell you about my cheat here?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The
Tell me about
crop here again is a cheat because she said, "Well, I feel like this is a power pose." Okay, so a couple of things. When she sat in that chair, her shoulders just dropped. She relaxed. She said, "Oh my gosh, I could sleep in this chair." So the light bulb went on. Okay. So, and she just relaxed because the whole session, I was telling her, relax your shoulders, because she would tense up. Her elbows would literally be like almost to, her shoulders would be like to her ears. You know what I'm saying? Relax, relax.
Yeah.
So that chair, it is very, very, very plush. It's a very nice chair. But that crop is a cheat because I was shooting her square. She is not that shapely. Like, she has her waist and her hips there's not too much difference. And so this was my way of cheating.
Okay.
So yeah, the crop was my cheat.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
All right, last image.
Let's see. Now, this was the last image of the night. I don't know. Okay, did I? Oh, okay. If it's the last image, can I
You can
not?
pick which one. You
Oh,
can
I
pick
can
which
pick
one you
one?
want to show. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go with this gentleman here.
Okay. Tell me about this one.
This one, he's in law enforcement. That's about all I can say about that. But he is really trying to improve his physique, and he wanted
looks like
to
he's doing good.
Well, interestingly enough, so we talk about women and self-esteem and being self-conscious. He was very self-conscious about taking off his shirt. And so he wanted to wait until he lost more weight, was more ripped. And I said, let's do it now. Okay, and then you can still lose more weight and get more ripped, and we'll photograph you again. But let's do it now. Let's see what it looks like. And so, this was really kind of like a coming out for him, to be bold enough to bear himself in front of the camera. It'd be different if he was just hanging out with the guys and they were, whatever. But so he was really self-conscious, and then so he wanted his weapon. Which is really interesting because a lot of these folks come with weapons with their cigar. And so after we, cleared it, made sure it was unsafe, I told him, I was like, because you are, actively in law enforcement, we're not going to show the whole weapon. We'll just give a hint of the weapon. And his friends are still taunting him about this image today. They really, really like it, but they see him in a completely different light. I have a spool that cable came on that the construction workers use, and he's thick, and so I had him really just put his hand on the stool and lean forward, and I realized that I cut off his hand in the crop because you saw more of his leg, but I wanted a really tight crop on this because I wanted to accentuate his tattoos on his arm, and I was practicing with a little dodging and burning, and there's a lot that I could improve on this image. So this one is really here to get a full-on, give it to me kind of, what could I do better?
I like this image, and I think that you did really well. If he was self-conscious about his physique, with men, it's usually men have a really hard time. Even my husband, who's pretty tall and lanky by just his natural build, they start, especially after like they hit 30, like they carry all their weight in their stomach. So you'll see guys with like huge arms and muscular chest, but they'll have that beer belly even if they don't drink. Like they carry all their weight in their midsection. So that being said, if he's self-conscious about that, you did an excellent job of posing him in a way that completely minimized that, which is actually harder to do with men than it is with women. Because women are so curvy by nature, where men are more angular. When they're really cut, it's all lines and angles and geometric shapes in their muscles, and women are all, flowing lines and curves. So You know, you accentuated everything that he would want accentuated by. His arms look enormous, you know, like in a good way, like in a good, like, don't, you know,
Yeah.
don't mess with him way, or I feel protected as his woman kind of way, which is exactly how guys want to appear. And that's that toughness and that big, you know, don't mess with me kind of feel is totally accentuated by all the tattoos and his expression. Like, the whole thing comes together really well. You know, you've got this guy with huge arms and, you know, the weapon. So it's him showing off his guns in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when you're adding that element of the expression with him and him giving that, like, his face is like a, I dare you. Like,
Yeah.
I dare you to fuck with me right now. Like, which is good. Like, I totally see that it's menacing, but it's not unapproachable, which is hard to pull off. The only place that I'm seeing it is in the neck, and that's the trade-off, is that by you having that angle and having him turn, it's the turn of the neck. No matter how thin you are, you'll get that line because of the way the skin has to move to allow you to turn the neck. But because he's a bigger guy, there's an accentuation on that line as it being more of like a fat roll because of the way that the shadow and the light is hitting it. So just something to pay attention to. Same thing, if you had had him put his hand down, you could have still had that, but having him lean towards the camera would have elongated that neck and still given him more room to play before you started seeing the creases in the flesh.
Okay.
I love the cigar. I love the smoke. I love the shadow and the light. That highlight on his shoulder and down his forearm is really nice. I think that you probably could have dodged and burned even a little bit harder on the shoulder just to really make those muscles pop.
Okay.
But I also don't know if doing that you would have started to lose the quality of the skin tonality, because a lot of times you start to lose it and it starts to get really red in the coloring because of the darkness, and then it starts to look like unnatural flesh tones. So, so I don't know how far you could push it, but I would be inclined to just go in and play with it and see. But overall, I really love this one. It doesn't bother me at all that you cut off his other arm. I would have if you had cut it higher and it would have been right at the elbow, but you got down far enough on the forearm that it doesn't bother me. So I'm gonna give this one a 3, mostly because I'm impressed that you showed me all women, and that, you know, you're obviously shooting more of them, but that you inherently knew how to pose him to hide everything that he wouldn't want seen and accentuate and make everything that he wanted big even bigger.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well done.
You have an idea how old he is?
I don't know, maybe mid to late 30s, early 40s.
No, I think he's a couple of years older than I am, and I'll be 52 next in 4 weeks.
Oh, well, I would not have guessed you were over 50 either.
Yeah.
I hope I aged like that. I won't, but I hope I do.
Yeah. So, when I found that out, I was like, oh my God, really?
No, I wouldn't have guessed it. But I would have said 40s was a safe bet.
Nope.
Good. Well, I'm sure he's happy with that too. Okay, so you can go up and you can click off of the screen share thing. And I do have another meeting after you, but I want to have just a couple of minutes to kind of touch base with you since it's your first one. So we've been connected on Facebook for a little while, and so now you're in the Arcanum. Why?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I have taken the quote-unquote safe route with my career for, well, now I started working when I was 14, so for 38 years I've been working. So I spent 28 years in the military, and everything has really been about, having a firm foundation, being able to take care of your family. It really didn't have anything to do with whether or not I wanted to do what I was doing. And photography has been there for a really long time since my photography fell into my lap in the military. But when I went through a divorce, it became sort of it was my security blanket, and it was also my way of, um, I don't know, coping. And so when ops tempo got a little bit higher in the military, I sat the camera down, but there was always this longing for it. And so since I retired, I've picked the camera back up and have been trying to find my way with it. And what I realize is that I'm happiest when I'm photographing other people, things. It doesn't matter. I'm just happiest when I have the camera in my hand. And so the Arcanum, just first of all, it just seemed like it was so far out of reach, because we second guess ourselves whether or not anybody else would, one, like our work or even want to mentor us. Are we good enough? And I hear that all the time from other people. Am I good enough? Or I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And so I tell people all the time, yes, you are. Yes, you are. It's about this self-belief. But I was saying that and being a hypocrite at the same time because I didn't feel like I would ever make it into the Arcanum. And so now that I'm here, there's this a feeling of, well, first humility, but there's like this renewed energy that I have, and I'm still there's another me in there. Well, actually, the real me is in there, and it's been screaming to come out for a really, really, really long time, and I have been suppressing her and suppressing her and suppressing her, and I finally I had enough. I know my work is good, but I want it to be great, and great is not always technically great. I want it to transform people. So when someone sees an image of themselves, I want them to see something that they never saw before but knew was there, and I just help them, discover that part of them. So so I took a leap. I was telling people, oh yeah, I'm taking this leap of faith, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Well, I took a big leap because I resigned this week.
Good for you, girlfriend.
I did. My husband still has it. He's still looking at me like, you did that. My daughter says, congratulations. My son says, you just got major cool points with me, Mom. And my mother said, you know what? I am just so glad that you're finally doing something that makes you happy. So
there are the people that love you. That is an awful lot of love from all directions.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, I had one. I had Mike at the beginning when I was failing and falling down and my images sucked, and the 3 businesses that I tried in different avenues of the arts, and he was always willing to throw time and energy and money. And more than any piece of equipment I have, more than any kind of education, he is the single reason for every piece of success. So if you are getting that from all of your family, you're going to do everything I did and more in half the time. That is the single essential thing, is having love and support around you. Like, I cannot stress the importance of it enough, because that's what you need.
I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think that I would get that kind of support from them, because, the bill, I just did this like 48 hours ago. I just walked in and turned in my letter of resignation 48 hours ago. And I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? And I skipped out of the university. I literally skipped. You see, champagne, okay? I was just like, I'm celebrating after I have my critique, because this is actually the beginning of that journey that I have been afraid to take. I have rappelled out of helicopters, free fall in the rivers, been to war. I've done all this stuff that other people are like, oh my God, there's no way. But yet I was afraid to go after what I really wanted.
Why do you think that is?
Because I could not see, like right in front of me, I could not see how it was safe as far as being able to take care of the mortgage and take care of the bills and my son's college tuition. And I was thinking of it in terms of money. So it was you have to pay the bills, and that's the most important thing. So what I realized on Tuesday was that while I was so busy trying to be on a firm foundation and not take any risk, that I risked the single most important thing, and that is living. And
Indeed.
if you do that, then you leave here with regrets one way or another. And I've never had a regret. I mean, all the crazy things that have happened, I have never had a regret. And so I felt like I was regretting not, like, no kidding. If you take the leap, you have to let go because you can't really
Yeah.
take the leap if you're holding on. So that's what I was doing. I was doing this.
That's what almost everyone does, and you're bringing up such a good point, and I want to actually revert that back because you have your daughter congratulating you and your son saying that you're earning cool points. Aside from taking care of them in a financial and a logistical way, what you just did was give them permission to be happy because your children will follow your example before your advice.
Yes.
So them seeing you having the courage to do that will not only give them the courage to do that, but probably give them the courage to do that much younger. Like, we stop and we think about it, like we're a third or halfway through our time here already.
Yes.
Like, that's it. We're running out and we don't get any more. You can earn more money. You don't get to earn more time ever.
You don't. You sure don't.
And so I can't tell you what an honor it is to have you in my house being this brave and celebrating with champagne, which you absolutely should. Like, what you just did is so heroic. It really is. It really is. And this is coming from someone that knows what it is to be a military family and how much heroic runs in your blood. Isn't it interesting that you can jump out of helicopters and go into battle, but you're afraid to follow what you want?
I know. And you know what? We have some amazing cohorts. I just have to say that because I not only look at their work, but I just look at the words that they write. Words are very, very powerful. They're very powerful. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
But they are so awesome. I just, I see myself in their words, which is really important to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have all good people. I'm very, very selective in the people I let into my tribe. And so far, I've been a pretty good judge. So I was super excited when you dropped me a line and said that you applied to the Arcanum, and I actually put a note in the Masters Lounge and said, "She's mine. Nobody touch her," because I was afraid somebody else was going to grab you before, because you are lit from within. You really are. Like, you are just filled with fire, and I think that is going to catch very quickly. So you just made this incredibly brave choice, and you're beaming, and I'm super excited about it. So now what? What is the ideal scenario for you?
The
You've given yourself permission to be happy. What does happy look like?
Happy looks like, wow, oh gosh, okay. Happy looks like not being busy all the time, but being productive when I am busy.
Very good.
Okay, because we can spend a lot of time doing a lot of things and then have nothing to show for it at the end of the day. So happiness also looks like picking up that camera and just just creating something magical. So magical for me and for the other person. Happiness looks like being able to cook dinner some nights instead of my husband. Like, I can't get in the kitchen because he likes to cook. He's 6'7", 17, okay? He's huge, but he likes to cook. So being able to sneak in and get in the kitchen and cook dinner every now and then. And happiness looks like, read the bedtime story to my granddaughter every night, who just turned 2 and who is absolutely brilliant, and one of the reasons why I took the leap. Happiness really is perfecting those technical things that have been hindering me from seeing that final image like I really want to. So the retouching, sure, I can send it out, but one of the things that one of my mentors told me a long time ago is whatever it is that you have someone else do, know enough about it to be dangerous. So know enough about it um, to be able to do, if you couldn't reach them, to do something yourself. So I'm a
Yeah.
bench person. I'm a bench person. As I climb the ranks in the military, that's one of the challenges for me, is I'm not a sit up behind the desk kind of person. So whatever it was that my troops were doing, or my airmen, because I spent 10 years in the Army and 18 in the Air Force, I would go out there and I would do it with them. It's not enough to sit in the ivory tower and say, okay, because you really are out of touch. So, happiness is being proficient. I don't have to be an expert, but being proficient in those things that will give me the outcome that I want.
Okay. So now that you've done this, we're focusing on family and grandbabies, but we're also focusing on artistry. We definitely want to make money from our artistry. Are
Oh,
you
yeah.
you're looking to start another career at this point, just in something that you really love? Yeah?
Yes and no. I've had a
Okay.
job, I've had a career. Now I want to experience my calling, which to me is much higher than a career.
I stand corrected, and I'm totally stealing that. Okay, but we want to experience our calling and get paid a lot of money to do it.
Yeah, 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 you can add that on there. Yes, totally.
Okay, so what does that look like for you? Because you and I feel like we could probably sit and wax poetic all day long on the spiritual side, but when it comes down to it in logistics, what are we talking about in terms of time and money? Because that's really what it is.
Time and money. Like, as far as like how much time a day or a week do I want to spend in my art?
Yeah, like in a given week, are we still looking at putting 30, 40 hours a week in, or do you want to put 10 or 20 in so you can spend more time doing the family thing? Where's your priorities as far as that goes?
Well, uh, if I put anything less than 50 hours a week into this, I would have time for my family because I'm a workaholic. Okay.
Okay.
So, but I would like to now. When we say into the artistry, we're talking about all of it, the business aspect of it and the creating aspect of it. Is that correct?
All of it, all together.
Okay, so altogether, I would like to put in 30 hours a week.
Okay.
Um, 30 hours a week. As far
Okay.
as money is concerned, wow.
Just give me a number a month. What do you want your check? If you were getting a paycheck at the end of the month,
Mm-hmm.
what's the ideal amount? Put a number on that check for yourself.
10 grand.
10 grand a month.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, okay, so I'm a scientist. So when we say 10 grand a month, we're talking 10 grand gross or net.
You tell me.
Ah,
Okay, let me rephrase.
okay.
How much money if you were taking money and putting it in your back pocket, how much money are you putting in your back pocket and taking home at the end of the month?
Okay, 10 grand.
Okay.
10 grand.
Okay. 10 grand.
Yes.
I don't think that that's going to be hard for you at all.
Are you serious?
No, I don't.
I'm just dreaming big because I figure if you don't dream big, you can't expect big.
Okay, well, there's also scalability. So right now you just left your job.
Mm-hmm.
How much do we need to make in order to maintain your current lifestyle? Is your lifestyle dependent on the money from the job you just left?
I don't think it's dependent on the full amount. I mean, I just left a six-figure salary. So,
Okay.
but I think I need to make 2/3 of that at least.
Okay. So is like 7,500, is that a safe bet?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I think what we'll do is we'll start out at the 6 and look at a business plan that's scalable to ramp you up to 10 by the end of the year. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay. So just for the sake of conversation, how many shoots would you like to do in a month or a week, whichever's
In a week,
easier for you?
in a week, 3, 4.
Okay. So, and that would give you enough time you wouldn't get behind with like editing and getting stuff back to your clients? You feel like that wouldn't burn you out?
If I were doing 30, 40 hours a week, I think at some point in time I'd need a vacation. um,
I'm sure.
yeah, I mean, realistically, if it's right now, it's just me, and I have a makeup artist and a stylist, but as far as everything else, I'm doing everything else. So realistically, starting out, we're talking two. I would like to get to a point where I'm doing 3 or 4 shoots a week, but I would also like to have some assistance with that. Which
Okay.
I'm not ready for that right now.
Okay. Well, just to kind of give you an idea, if you're doing, say, 3 a week, that comes out to about 12 a month. To hit your 10 grand mark, you're only looking at $800 in sales from each of those, which is not that big. If you're only doing 2 a week, we're looking at 8 for the month. You're looking at 1250. I'm making 2 to 3,000, and you're what, a 2.5 hour drive from me?
Yes.
So you're not far enough. And I know people that are much closer to you that are averaging $2,000 to $5,000 in sales every session. So that's not
That would be
unreasonable
sweet.
at all. $1,250 a session, you could very easily do that. And your work is to the point that we could start looking at those prices for you already.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't think that it would be an unreasonable thing at your 10,000. Now, just for the sake of conversation, assuming we're staying at that 7,500
Mm-hmm.
and doing 2 sessions a week, you're still only looking at $930
Oh,
a session.
yeah.
It's less than $1,000 a session. If you do 4, it's less than $500 a session. You could work 4 days a week shooting and make 7,500 a month.
Okay.
It's very, very easy to build that. So I just want to put that in perspective, because $10,000 sounds like this enormous amount of money to be able to make from photography, but when you start breaking it down, like, it's really not that much. It just depends on how you want to do it. So when you break it down and you go, okay, I want to make $10,000 a month. Well, if you want to do that, and shoot once a month, then you have to book a $10,000 session. Which is also not a problem, because you get to spend the other 29 days working to book that $10,000 session. That's not unreasonable. But then you break it down and you go, well, I'll do 2 at 5,000, or I'll do 4 at 2,500. Like, it's very easy to scale it down. It just becomes a balance between how often you want to work versus how much money you want to charge per session, and finding that medium in between the two, which is somewhere you feel comfortable that you're not going to get burnout, but you also don't feel like you're pricing yourself out of where your local level is.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
So does that seem obtainable and less intimidating when we break it down like that for you?
Yes, it does. And actually, it makes me think, because I've had these dreams of, averaging 1,500 to 2,000 per session. And if I think about it in that way, then I would have to have 5 or 6 sessions a month. Oh my gosh, that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
I'm telling you right now that in the last 2 years, nobody has spent less than $2,000 walking in my studio. There's no reason that you can't make those rates. And at $2,000, now I charge that much not because I want to be high end, but because I don't want to work. My children are young. My husband just got back from Afghanistan. Like, it was really important for me to be here. Now I'm working on the Reliquarian. I like shooting for myself and staying creative. I don't want to work that much. And I have other things like the book sales and the Arcanum and things that are bringing in money. So the money is not a huge deal to me. I charge a lot of money, so I don't have a lot of clients. It's a marketing ploy.
It's really smart. It's really smart. I don't know anything but working hard. And so So maybe that's part of my issue, that where I also need to grow, that I don't have to work so hard in so many hours.
No, I mean, because I do. I still work really hard, but I work really hard at the things I want to work hard at. And I have the feeling that you just have insane work ethic to begin with, so you just work hard at everything you do, which I totally get. Like, we took a 3-hour break today in between critiques, and we went upstairs and tiled our bathroom. Like,
Right.
I'm one of those people too. You and I are totally in sync in that way. But I want to go put in 12 hours to making this giant 8-foot piece of fruit for my next prop. That's for me, for a project I'm working on. I don't want to work harder for anybody else than I do
Yes.
for myself.
Yes.
And for what I'm building. So now that you made this leap, your homework assignment before you start level 5 is to sit down with your loved ones and your family and finish off that bottle of champagne and go, okay, I've put in my time, I've contributed to society and my country and my family. Now it is my time to build my empire and my legacy, and what do I want that to look like? And I don't want you to worry about money or marketing or reasonability or anything else. I just want you to start it with I want, and be completely selfish and be completely unreasonable and let nothing on that page be mediocre. And just go, this is what I want my life to look like. Because as soon as you know what it is you want, it's a lot easier to get there.
Mm.
Yeah?
Okay, Jessica. Okay.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. I want to post. And you can make it a family thing. Like, get them in on it too. Like, let your husband go ahead and make dinner, and don't fight him for the kitchen. But sit down at dinner and have a conversation and let them put in too. Like, this does not have to be limited to photography. Like, now that you are in business for yourself, maybe part of that includes, like, I'm going to take 1 week off every 3 months and we're going to go somewhere. I want to take my grandbaby to Disneyland. I want to go to London for JLark's workshop. I want to go, see, Iceland, or, whatever it is that you want to do. My husband and I are going to take 1 weekend a month and go to a bed and breakfast, just the two of us, and I'm going to start dating him again now that I have this free time, and my business is going to financially serve that. I do that all the time. Every time we host a workshop, Mike and I stay an extra 2 days and go away together and just have time for us, and it's been amazing. It's really nice now to be to the point that not only can I run my business the way that I want and have a sense of purpose, but when my husband sends me a picture and goes, oh my God, I may leave you for this drum set, I go, you don't have to, because I just ordered the whole thing. It's here when you get home.
I love it.
And we don't have to worry about it, like our pipe broke and everything. It's really nice because I came from a really, really poor family. Like, you were talking about the the spool for the cables that the construction workers have. I had one of those as my table in my living room when I was a kid. Like, we were so we couldn't afford the R on the end of the word.
Right,
like,
I'm with you. I'm from Southeast DC, so I'm totally with you.
Yeah, not like it was, we had like plastic lawn furniture, so I know what that's like, which is why it's so nice to not be that way. Like, I think if I had been born where I am now in the kind of community that I was in, I don't think I'd appreciate it as much, and I don't think I would work as hard as I do, because I like that I have worked for everything I have. I like the sense of accomplishment that comes with that, and I think you and I share that, which is probably why we're such kindred spirits.
Absolutely.
So this is the point where you go, I've worked for all of it, now I get to have what I want. So all you have to decide is what it is you want.
Okay.
And we're going to build it, and we're going to build the business around it so that not only can you do that, but you can also offer it to all of the loved ones that are giving you support and telling you that they're proud of you for doing this.
Yeah. I couldn't do it without them.
Yeah. So that's your homework assignment. That's what I want from you.
Okay.
Okay? And that's it. I'm hanging up on you.
Okay, yeah, because I'm going to go mud my bathroom so that I can sand it tomorrow and paint it. I just hung the drywall yesterday.
Nice. Send me pictures. I love it. 10 points. 10 points for shared bathroom woes. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. I'll talk
Thank
to you soon,
you.
girlfriend. Bye.
Bye.